The Los Angeles Clippers have won 9 out of their last 10 games, and over this stretch, James Harden has been having a huge impact on the court. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the film to see what exactly Harden is doing to find success. Now with Harden's game, we all pretty much know what he does. He's either going to be creating offense through his scoring or playmaking, and for the most part, that's still his role in the Clippers offense right now. And while Harden has for sure been putting up some impressive passing numbers, the first thing I want to go over is his scoring, because I think this is the underlying factor that really sets up Harden's playmaking.
Against Wiggins, lets it fly from distance. Oh, it's a roof scraper.
Now over the past few years, Harden's scoring volume and efficiency has steadily been going downhill. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that is Harden's finishing around the basket. Harden last year shot a career low 50% at the rim, which is almost 20% lower than the league average. And when looking at these clips, it was pretty apparent that Harden didn't have the lift to find ways to finish in traffic. And I think that was one of the main reasons he couldn't consistently be productive in the playoffs. Now James was able to put a band-aid on these issues by instead stopping and popping these short mid-range pull-ups, which did lead to him having a few monster games. But these still aren't the most efficient or reliable shots, and James has always been a guy who primarily scores from the deep paint or beyond the three, and he wasn't able to consistently knock down these short jumpers. Now I bring all this up because so far this year Harden's brought his field goal percentage at the rim up to over 60%. And I think the biggest factor to that is the Clippers can space the floor much better. Harden this year is surrounded by a ton of shooters and playmakers, which spreads out the defense and gives James way more space to work. Right here, notice how the Clippers have the only non-shooter come out and set the screen for James, which leaves the paint wide open. And once Harden beats the first line of defense, there's absolutely no resistance at the rim. And while Harden vertically may not be the same athlete he once was, he still has an elite handle and a punchy quick first step. This has always been one of Harden's favorite isolation moves, where he gets to this low stance and plays with the ball back and forth. And once he gets the defense on their heels, he explodes out of this right to left between. And then of course Harden's favorite counter off that move is his crossover, where he both shifts his weight to his left foot and drops his shoulders, which gets the defense leaning and sets up this crossover. I also think Harden is really good at attacking when he can pick up some momentum. Notice here how James gets this screen just past half court, and when he comes off, he's able to build up a head of steam to then open up this big stance and attack his top foot with this low pickup. On this play, notice how the Clippers set these stagger screens over 30 feet away from the basket, which gives James all this open space to attack into. And once he's able to get some momentum going downhill, he's really tough to deal with physically. Now with all that said, I still think James runs into some issues when he's going up against length or a crowded paint. It is pretty apparent that Harden doesn't have great stability with his lower body, and right now he's not great at knifing through crowds to create finishing angles. Take this play for example. You'll see James initially beat the first line of defense, and once this help defender slides over and completely cuts off his drive, Houston James Harden from here would be able to euro off his right foot and stride across the paint to create a finishing angle. But 2023 James Harden doesn't have the same body control. And again, I also think James has lost some pop off the floor, simply not being able to elevate up and explode into finishes. Right here, you'll see him get a clean blow by, and from here he's got the open space to extend up to the rim, but the help side still beats him to the spot and erases the shot. Now having said that, I still think the most important thing is that defenses still respect Harden as a driver, which allows him to use that attacking threat to create space for his patented step back threes.
To do out of a timeout, a Harden step back three.
Now Harden for sure has a deep bag of separation moves, and I think it's easy to get caught up in his footwork and ability to skate back and create space for his jumpers. But I think the real key to Harden creating space for his shots is his ability to push the defense's momentum back. You'll see Harden here get back to his favorite between cross combo, And notice how James is able to push Luka's right foot back by shifting his weight to his left foot and dropping his shoulders, selling that blow by. And when he separates, notice how drop back Luka's feet are on the contest, which takes away his ability to alter the shot. You'll see Harden hit the same move here, and again as he separates, notice how he pushes the defense's feet back, which gives him the airspace to rise up for his jumper. Now on top of Harden's ability to generate outside looks pretty much at will, he's also one of the league's best tough shot makers. So far this year, Harden is shooting a blazing hot 42% on all his pull-up threes, which is higher than Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, and many other notable outside scorers. And I think a lot of this comes down to Harden's ability to simply knock down well-contested jumpers. There's many times off the bounce where James isn't able to create much space, but he still finds ways to sink these difficult, heavily contested looks. You'll see James on this play aggressively attack towards his right, then slam the brakes by planting his right foot, and from here he's going to organize his feet and flow into his step back. But notice how this defender completely crowds Harden's shooting window, but from here James is unbothered, and he still commits to his shot and sinks it. So overall, Harden is still an elite outside scorer, who may have lost some of his juice and explosiveness around the basket, but he can still find ways to effectively put pressure on the rim. And James is still a player who commands plenty of attention as a scorer, which then leads us to his passing. In pick and roll, I can pretty confidently say that Harden is one of the best overall facilitators across the league, having the ability to snap pocket passes, toss up perfectly timed lobs at the rim, while also being able to read the second and third defender off the ball.
Powell in the corner for three. The pass from Harden was pretty ridiculous.
When getting into these pocket passes, Harden is very comfortable delivering these going both right and left. You'll see him here attacking to his left full speed, and when he pulls the defense towards him, he can easily shovel this one-hand pass in the blink of an eye. And James is also comfortable delivering this pass going right. Watch him here transfer the ball to his left hand, which allows him to tighten up this pass and sneak the ball through this tight gap. And again, it's always Harden's scoring threat that really opens up all these passing options. Notice here how James forces this big to stay in front of him and wall off his drive, but that in return leaves the backside open for this lob. You can see the same effect on this play, where Harden again turns the corner, and watch him lift the ball and his shoulders up to sell the shot, which pulls the big out of position and sets up another uncontested two for the roller. Now because James is so good at diming up the roller, he commonly attracts heavy attention from the weak side defense, which then opens up these skip passes. Notice here how this help defender slides over to tag the roller, but Harden immediately reads that and snaps this pass to the corner. So because James is still a high-level scorer in isolation, he doesn't always need a ball screen to force the defense in rotation. Watch Harden here break down the man guarding him, and before he even gets below the three, notice how he pulls the entire weak side defense across the court, which opens up the skip pass in three. I also think James has gotten much better at making simple and efficient reads. On this play, notice how Harden initially has a mismatch, and watch how Chris Paul here is trying to switch on the ball, but as these two players start their exchange, James is going to quickly snap the ball to the wing, which gives his teammate a closeout to attack. Look at this play. We now have Harden getting into his isolation bag, and while that's happening, Josh Hart is going to slide down pretty deep in gap. So in response, Harden is going to simply zip the ball across to the wing, which gives his teammate another scramble to attack. Now because Harden is playing alongside other really talented scorers and playmakers, he's also had to find ways to be effective off the ball. And over the past few weeks, I've been really surprised with some of Harden's improvements as an off-ball scorer. But if you want to see me break down that part of Harden's game, that video is going to be exclusively on my Patreon, where you can get access to the rest of my James Harden video, as well as all my other exclusive content. But regardless, I still appreciate you stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one. The Kid's here.